Hello YouTube, Sam here from youtube.com/onlivegamer for the new Boston. And in this tutorial we're going to be working more on the truck class, and then we're going to start building the interface for our program and adding more to it. So let's go ahead and add one more thing that we're going to need for our truck class. So we'll just add a function that gives the information about the truck. So let's come up here to our car class and let's find the toString function that has been overridden. So you can see here we've got name, color, number of doors, and speed. So we'll go ahead and copy that because we're going to use that as the base for our get information. Now you may be thinking we could just use the toString and then add stuff to that. Well, we're going to be adding stuff in between those values, so that won't be very practical. So we'll type public function get truck info as string. So it's going to be returning a string. So we're just going to return the name, the color, the number of doors, and in between here, let's go ahead and add the cab size. So, and then we will add truck cab length. So then we'll add the bed length. So we'll just type bed length, and then we will add the length value. So truck bed length. And now we will add just the number of doors. So we're going to need a new line in between each one of these. So environment dot new line, and then we'll add this string right here, and then one more new line right here. So environment dot new line. Okay, so now that we have everything we need for the truck class, let's go ahead and minimize that. And you can see that I've organized all the code in here. We've got the car superclass. Now the superclass is the main class that all of these inherit from: sports car, truck, and then our two enumerations. So we'll come back here into form1.vb. We'll zoom in some. So let's go ahead and go to the designer, and we'll just add a list box that will hold all of our car or truck or sports car objects. So list box right here. We'll make it a little bit bigger, and we'll shrink it. We'll bring it down like that. Now let's go ahead and bring it down a little bit more, and we're going to add another button. So we'll come back to our toolbox. We'll click button, or we'll add button 1, and we'll set the text to new car, and then we'll set the name to button create car. Now we're not going to be using that right now, but we will later on. So we'll come back to form1.vb, and now what we're going to need is an array list that's going to hold all of our car objects. Now we are going to use an array list because we don't know how many objects the user is going to be adding to the list box. So we will type private cars as new array list. Okay, so whenever our form loads, let's just go ahead and add these two objects right here to our array list. So we'll just type cars.add, and then we'll add default car, and we will add the default sports car. Okay, so now that we have these two cars in our array list, let's go ahead and add all those items to our form 1, or to our list box. Now let's go ahead and rename the list box right here. So we'll just call it list cars, and we'll come back in here and we'll create a sub that will do this for us. So we'll type private sub add all cars, and this is just going to run once when the form 1 loads. So what we're going to do is add all cars. So we'll type for each car as, and then we want to do it of type. We'll do it of type allcars.car. So you can see that we can use polymorphism in this for each loop right here, because we can pass a car object. We can use car objects in this, but we can also use sports cars and trucks. So hold on, let's type this again. So our array list that we're going to use for this is cars. So for each car as all cars.car in cars, that might be a little confusing, but we're just going to go ahead and add that to the list box right here. Now, as I was saying, we're going to use polymorphism for this because we can treat sports cars and trucks as a car because they inherit from it. So we don't have to do a specific type in here. So we'll just type list cars dot items dot add, and then we're just going to add car dot car name. So this is going to add our car name to the list box. So let's go ahead and run this, and it looks like we're getting an error here. So we got int speed is not accessible. So we're just going to have to make that let's see here, we're going to have to use this property right here. So we can just go ahead and instead of typing int speed, we'll just type speed. So we're accessing the speed property and not the variable itself. Okay, so now let's run this again and see if we get the desired output. Looks like we're going to have to call that sub. So we'll just type add all cars. Okay, so now it should work. But before it, we'll be able to print out the car name of our default car and our default sports car. We're going to have to actually set the name, or it's going to be printing out a null object inside of our list box, and you won't actually see it. So we'll set the first one to, we'll do a Honda CRV, and then for the sports car, we will just call it Mustang GT. So Mustang GT right there. Okay, so now if everything runs right, hopefully we get each car inside of our list box. Now we can actually show the information of each one of these different cars, but we'll be doing that in the next tutorial. As you can see, if I select CRV, it gives us the Mustang GT info, and that's not exactly what we want. So go ahead, put this code in if you haven't already, and then once you've done that, go ahead and move on to the next tutorial.